Right, welcome everyone to the Business Builder this Thursday. A special thank you to BNI Abundant, who is supporting Mel, and I am very impressed by the turnout. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Mm.
It's really nice to see all your faces. Today we are hearing from Melanie Tomlinson. Mel started her first business at the age of 24, 1 month after returning from a gap year in Europe. This business began as an agency and ended up as a distributor of curios with a popular range of t-shirts and a whole range of golfing paraphernalia for tourists coming to South Africa. At 36, Mel sold her business and pivoted into the coaching profession. She enrolled and qualified as a consciousness coach and dedicated her time to coaching business owners and managers. As coaching is a very new profession, especially in the outlying area of Nelspruit, where Mel lived, she soon realized that she had to create a demand. And in order to do this, Mel had to overcome her fear of public speaking, learn to network, and how to build credibility. Mel recently located to the Cape, where she is yet again drawing on all of these acquired skills and innate strengths to establish herself in a more mature and competitive coaching market. Mel's program, the Performance Booster, believes that you can only grow businesses through growing people. She considers herself to be self-motivated and driven, and she is here to talk to us about the difference between motivation and inspiration. And I, for one, am very excited she's here. Before I hand over to Mel, I would love to know from each of you today, in the chat box, please, what is your name, your business, and what you are hoping to gain from today's session? I'm sure Mel would love to see that as we go on.
You can turn the pressure up because Robin's already said she wants to be motivated after the session. I didn't come here and say I'm going to motivate you. I said I'm going to talk to you about motivation.
Well, Mel, you can start by telling us about yourself and Performance Booster. And then I'd love to know what actually made you choose the topic of motivation. When I invited you to come speak today, why did you choose motivation?
Well, I think you've kind of told everybody more or less what there is to know about me for now. And I suppose the most important thing for me is that I've been a coach for about 15 years or 16 years. I'm not even sure. But I have honestly woken up inspired and motivated every single day to do what I do. There isn't a day. I did have a client from hell, and she did make me throw all my business cards in the dustbin and rebrand myself. So one client that really, really took me down. But other than that, I love what I do. And I think the main reason, and it fits in with this talk, is that it is really deeply connected to my purpose. I remember being at school and knowing that I always wanted to work one-on-one with people and help them grow, just grow. I didn't even know what that meant. I was probably standard 4 or something at that stage. And so when I discovered that coaching was something that I could actually get a qualification for and do professionally, that's when I was 36. I actually signed up for a coaching program. And on day one, they said, what do you want to get out of the program? Very much like we've said to you, what do you want to get out of the session? And I said, I want to know whether I'm going to sell my business to become a coach. And on day 2, I walked up to the front very confidently and I said, I have the answer. I'm going to sell my business. It was April, and I'm going to sell it by the 1st of August to become a coach full time. It was 2006. And then that is, another cat. And then that is exactly what I did. And the second people who came to see my business bought it to take it over on the 1st of August. And so it was really quite amazing. I had applied all my little coaching principles and I had my little integrity checklist and I did everything. And so, yeah, I'm very grateful. It hasn't been an easy journey, but because it is deeply connected to my purpose and to my why, which is to help other people, it's not difficult for me to show up every day. And I just remember, like, lockdown, you know, everybody was in pajamas and all those things. I was like, get up, wake up, get up, make up, show up every day, because I just really realized there was an opportunity to be of service to people. So Tam, did you want to choose some of those chats and just maybe pick a few and go through why people are here?
Sure. Let's start with Robin, because we already put her in the hot seat. She said she's from Hay Attorneys, and she's looking forward to getting some more tools on motivation. Sharon wants to build her self-motivation skills. Dylan from his photography business would like to know more about motivating himself when he is demotivated, as well as motivating others when working with them. Margie runs an accounting practice for 37 years. Margie, well done. I'm not surprised you say you are tired. That sounds exhausting. And you need to stay motivated to get through that before you can switch to business improvement consulting. Karen, who runs Holman Health, needs to be inspired to hang in with some difficult and negative clients for the sake of their employees' health. Alessandra says she wears many hats: property practitioner, solopreneur, networker, and a deal maker. Would like to know how to streamline skills into one direction. And Bronwyn from CMAC Healthcare Consulting is looking for tools to motivate both herself and others when feeling demotivated. It is part of her quest for change. Wait, one more. We got Minette. So you just love the subject. It's an interesting question on how to stay motivated always, and it is an integral skill and a way of living. Oh, Manette is your client, Mel. She says she just loves you. She's been your client for over 7 years, and she's been growing with you through amazing and tough times. And Manette, you are what? From the corporate world. You were doing sales management. And you've started 2 new businesses in the last year. That's amazing. Holiday accommodation and a beauty studio. So, and Linda would like to know how to motivate others. And Jamie says she's always looking for ways to stay motivated. So, Mel, you've got lots of people looking for motivation guidance today.
Cool. Yeah, it's actually, it feeds right into, you know, how I plan to start off the session, which is to talk about what context this word motivation normally comes up in. So looking at exactly all these answers, they were so spot on, because it's either a person looking for how to motivate themselves, or it's more in the corporate space where you're working with teams or with clients on how to motivate them. So even that is kind of intrinsic or extrinsic. And I really think that there is, so you can look at motivation in terms of two things. There's intrinsic or there's extrinsic motivation. I just want to, can I do my screen share?
Absolutely.
Sorry. And then, Tam, just interrupt as I go, because I can talk a lot and fast. Put up your hand or something and say stop. So there are 2 kinds of motivation. And so it's traditionally looked at as the carrot or the stick. So whether we use that with children, I remember growing up and my dad, the carrot worked very well with me. So the carrot was, if you do X, you will get Y. So I remember that way back, like just think about, I don't know what it was, 1980 or something, when I was about 12 years old, standard 5. And my father would say, okay, if you come first in class, you will get 1 rand for every % that you got. Like, that was a lot of money. I think I got 87 rand. That was like a fortune at that time. But that worked for me. I was that child that you could motivate extrinsically by giving me the carrot. My sister was absolutely not motivated by that. They didn't know what to do with her because it didn't motivate her to offer. You could offer her anything. She was like, I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. And then they try the stick version, which if you don't do well, you're going to get this. And she was like, also, like, it's just whatever. If you're going to give me a harding, give me a harding. If you're going to take my bicycle, take my bicycle. It doesn't matter. And as I've learned about this, I realized that she was more intrinsically motivated and I was more extrinsically motivated. It was easier to motivate me with a carrot or a stick because I hated hardings. And it was easier, well, it was impossible to motivate her. If she didn't motivate herself, there was just no way you could motivate her. And this is an important aspect to understand about motivation, is just to identify, are you extrinsically motivated or are you intrinsically motivated? Intrinsic motivation really speaks to inspiration. The other word for it is inspiration. And to go back to your question, why I chose this topic is that if you think about 2020, the trend has been this trend coming from the States of the Great Resign. Have you all heard about the Great Resign? Great Resignation? So the States are really having a problem with people just resigning left, right, and center. And they are often people in very high positions. They've got all the bells and whistles. They worked to get to C-suite. They've got that beautiful corner office looking over the whole of New York. They've got the money. They've got the vehicle. They've got the holidays. They've got everything, and it's not enough. Because what they are lacking is inspiration. They are lacking internal intrinsic motivators, and the extrinsic motivators are simply not enough to keep them going. So let's just look at this diagram here, which is intrinsic because of interest and enjoyment in the task itself. So you are intrinsically motivated by things that really matter to you on an emotional level. So look at the words: enjoyment, purpose, growth, curiosity, passion, self-expression, fun. These are not material things. Material things could give you a brief experience of that emotion. So for instance, you've worked really, really hard and the boss has bought you the vehicle of your dreams as the company car. And so for 2 days, you're going to feel, wow, this is amazing. I finally got this car. And then the feeling is going to disappear because it's not intrinsic. Intrinsic for me is very, very linked to your why, to your purpose, to what makes you tick, to what you believe you are actually here to do. And I remember when I discovered coaching, it was very much, I used to say, I'd rather coach for free than not coach at all. I just wanted to coach anybody that moved. So, you know, I know, for instance, to pick on some of my friends in the room, Rena is like that. Rena is committed to BSR. She believes in BSR. Sharon is committed to what I think all of us are so committed to what we do, and we are intrinsically motivated. It's not difficult to get up to do what you do. It does get tough when I know my toughest time last year was really tough for me. And in my 15, 16 years as a coach, the toughest times were when I could not do enough of what I'm passionate about. That was difficult, to get up every day and think, oh, I don't have a client, or I only have one client. That's really, really difficult, to keep on being motivated when you're not getting enough of what you do. Okay, I'm going to stop in a minute and ask you a question so that I'm not the only one speaking. And then extrinsic motivation, those are easier from a boss's point of view. The carrot, the promotions, the pay rises, the bonuses, the benefits, the prizes, the winning. I'm working with a big attorney company at the moment, and that guy is amazing at the extrinsic motivators for his staff. Incredible. I mean, constantly slips them little packets of cash, buys them the latest sneakers. Even with his clients, he sent out a 2,000 Rand bottle of wine to a client the other day. These are all little extrinsic motivators. But if they are not, if the people working in a company are not linked to their purpose and their why, they will become demotivated. Okay, so let me stop there and ask you for some questions. I can hear that I'm speaking too much.
I have some. Well, if anyone else do, they can. If you have any questions for Mal so far, you're welcome to put up your hand or put them in the chat while I ask.
Okay.
But I think, Mala, I'd like to know, because you talk about there's two different types of self-motivation, whether you're motivating from inspiration or from reward. But we often start out well, and particularly with business, we start off a business excited about it. So you are inspired and you're hoping for an outcome. So whichever way you are easily motivated, a business will give you that push in the beginning. But you can lose your motivation, you can lose your inspiration. What would you say causes people to lose that mojo?
Well, like I mentioned, that not doing enough of what you actually love, but also doing too much of what you actually love. So, if you're doing too much of what you actually love, you start off loving it, and then you get busier and busier and busier. And like you've experienced before, Tam, where you have a complete meltdown energetically, you run out of steam because you're working too hard. You're not looking after yourself physically. So I think, balance or the lack of balance can cause you to lose motivation, for sure. If you're not taking care of yourself and keeping yourself in balance, when you've got a lot of work, that can definitely lead to demotivation. At the same time, if you don't have enough work of the work that you want to do, so you're passionate about your work, getting up to do the work isn't enough, but there's not enough coming in, that can be very demotivating. And one of the things to look at over there is, the other thing I wanted to say is, depending on how you're wired, some people want instant gratification. So, I'm a bit like that when it comes to dieting. I mean, if I've cut out bread for 3 days and I haven't lost 2 kilos, I actually I become demotivated. Does anybody else feel like that? I mean, it's really difficult to stay the course. I did a whole lot of what are these called? These walking lunges the other day. I immediately went to check whether my legs have changed shape, but they haven't. It's extremely demotivating. It's really difficult to keep it up. So it's this thing of, we want instant gratification. And so especially when you're in your own business, it's different when you're working for a boss, because when you're working for a boss, the work comes into you and you get a salary at the end of the month and you've just got to do the work. But when you've got to find the work and do the work, and the work isn't coming in fast enough for you to make it at the end of the month, that can be really tough and really demotivating. And my remedy for that is that when you start your own business and you find the thing that you really, really, really love, like I have found coaching, and you do what you love, and Rena does her BSR, we often just want to do what we love. That's why we signed up for it. That's why we studied for it. We look at psychologists and lawyers and people who just, their phones ring, but we don't understand what went into that. We don't know how long it took for them to get to that point. We don't take into account that unless we are out there building our networks, doing the sales, doing the hard yards, it's going to take, the longer we take to connect our actions to our why as well as our passion to our why. Unless we can do that, we are forever going to end up in this motivated, demotivated, motivated, demotivated cycle.
So discipline is an important part of motivation.
I think discipline is absolutely vital for motivation. Discipline, planning, structure, all of those good things that we know, come together with time management, with all of those things speak into staying motivated.
I have two excellent questions here from Tessa, so I'm going to read them to you. The first is, how do you motivate your team when you are a manager that doesn't control the extrinsic motivators? So you're not in control of their pay and their leave and their benefits, but you want to motivate them. What would you say is the best way to do that?
Okay, I am going to scramble through my notes. I wrote a whole thing about that, which I'm now not going to be able to find. But anyway, okay, let me just talk off the top of my head. Tessa, let me just see if I can get you on my screen. Why am I not seeing you?
I think your camera's off.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, my camera's off. There I am.
Okay, no problem. Hi. So yeah, great question. Thank you for that. I think that even if you do have control over those extrinsic motivators, whether you do or whether you don't, the research that is coming out now in terms of what motivates or demotivates people, the most important thing that people are asking for nowadays is to be heard. To be heard, to be seen, and to be loved, or included is another way of saying that. To belong. Let's say belong is the word. So to be heard, to be seen, and to belong. So often people, I'm working with at least, four or five clients at the moment who in their organization, their superior is complaining that they are not showing up fully, that they don't take initiative, that they don't contribute their ideas, that they've got to be pushed all the time, all of that stuff. That's normal. When you're working with a team, you've always got that. Me on the other side as the coach, I'm hearing that they feel spoken over, they feel treated like a child. Somebody yesterday said, he does come up with ideas, but he speaks quite softly. And then he says when he tells the idea, nobody takes note. And about a month later, somebody else comes up with the same idea and they get kudos for it. They get recognized for it. So he feels unseen, unloved, and like he doesn't belong. And it is absolutely demotivating him. So the best thing that you can do for people is take the time to really, really listen to them, to really understand what's important for them, to them, to take note of what they say and then respond appropriately. And then there's always the wonderful, I'll go through the 4 P's of motivation a little bit later, but there's always the one go-to one. When in doubt, acknowledge people. Yeah. When in doubt, give praise, give recognition, give acknowledgement. There are people that really, really dislike that to happen publicly. It's so funny because a previous partner and I worked on this work together. And whenever I used to do lots of kind of like big breakfasts, and then I used to use this opportunity to make a big fuss of him in terms of what he contributed to my business. Marnus, many of you will know him from standing in for me at BNI. And then one time, then he told me he really hates it when I do that. I was like, and it took you 3 years to tell me that. So
got to know your team.
You have to be quite sensitive to people as well. But acknowledgement, a note. Those people who are introverts who don't like that, a note on their desk with a chocolate to say thank you for that work. It's really not about for some people it is about they're climbing the corporate ladder, they want to get to the top, the office is important or the brand or whatever. But a lot of it is purely being seen and heard.
Okay. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Tessa, the next great question is yours as well.
Yeah, we don't have to go through both. We can go through them later if you want.
No,
well, I'm going to read it to you, Mel. You can decide if you want to answer it later. It's how do you motivate a person whose intrinsic motivation has expired, but they're hooked on the extrinsic factors?
And I trust that your budget for extrinsic factors has expired. Otherwise, you can just keep on throwing extrinsic motivators.
Well, yeah, let's say that you can't change the extrinsic factors. Like they like what they're getting in terms of pay, salary, whatever. They're happy on that sense. But like they used to feel that the work fulfilled them and that they had a purpose, and now it's just a job. As does it become, after 20, 30 years in an industry? So their intrinsic motivation is done, but they're staying because they're happy with the pay. But that intrinsically there's nothing.
And you find it's affecting the quality of their work?
Absolutely, yeah.
The quality of their work. Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that there's an opportunity, those are golden opportunities, to have those almost what we call, Robin's just been on a flawless consulting program, what we call recontracting opportunities. So sitting with that person and being upfront about, I've noticed that, you don't seem to really enjoy what you're doing anymore, whatever it is that you need to express. And in which area do you think that you can grow in?
Yeah.
What is your interest now? Is there something else that we can, add to or change? That will, so often as people develop in a company and their motivation goes down, that might be a great opportunity for them to start teaching, mentoring, writing programs, material, because they've got so much knowledge, and allowing somebody else to feed off of their knowledge actually gives them something back. So I think it is really important for any company to constantly have that realignment conversation with somebody. It's unrealistic to expect one person to do the same job for 20 years. And, they can do it in their sleep. So they're in such a comfort zone. And basically in your comfort zone, you fall asleep. It's like sitting in a warm room with all the windows closed and the heater on, and you're really comfortable, and before you know it, you've fallen asleep. And that's all they've done. They've literally just over time, they've just gone to sleep. And so find a way, give them a project that they're going to love, that's going to ignite them. And also continuous learning. Continuous learning is the one thing that keeps people motivated.
Problem is though, you can't force that on people. Again, it's got to be intrinsic. Like I try and share professional development stuff with my team, and sometimes it's like, I'm not interested in this. I just want to do the minimum of my job, get my money, and it's challenging.
That is very, very challenging.
Is very little then from their side. That's an interesting topic.
Yeah, I'm happy to have an in-depth conversation about that with you. There's a very nice model, we call it the blue, red, green model, which is how do we get people, it's called the circumplex, how do we get people to literally come to the party?
Yeah.
Because otherwise you will become demotivated, always trying to find ways to motivate people. And basically they're not taking ownership. So it's almost like taking ownership of their own joy. They've resigned themselves to being in a joyless job. I think about like a post office worker stamping things but they're getting a salary.
But they could find purpose in that, and then that's fine.
Maybe they go live with purpose when they get home,
Thanks for answering my question.
Thanks, Tessa, for trying to answer your question.
Mal, that's Tessa's brilliant questions were the only ones so far. But I see you've got promotions at the top of your extrinsic values there. And sometimes promotions can actually lead to demotivation. And I'm wondering if you have some insight into why.
So there's some interesting study around overcompensating people too early on. So for instance, if somebody was doing something that they actually loved to do, and then you overcompensated them for it too early on, they've actually proven that they've become demotivated, which is quite interesting. The other thing about it is that, and the typical example that I see very, very often in companies is they take, for instance, the best car salesman and they make him a sales manager.
Mm.
And so he goes from doing what he actually really loved and was very good at and thought, oh, wow, now I'm the sales manager, which takes away the thing that he was really good at, and he ends up managing people and then loses motivation. And so now you end up without a good car salesman and without a good manager. So that's a real danger, is to not assume that just because somebody is good at doing something, they're going to be good at managing other people.
Or that they're even looking for the promotion.
Or that they even, but often people will actually say they want the promotion. Even if you ask them, they'll say, absolutely, I want the promotion. I mean, it always comes with a title, it comes with a better vehicle, it comes with more money, it comes with whatever it comes with. So they may even think that that's what they've aspired to, until they're there and they find that it was so much easier just dealing with cars. They don't talk back. They don't take the day off. You know, so yeah, that is a consideration.
Yeah. I see Dylan says that it happened to him in his industry. He's a photographer and he loves to shoot and be on the ground, but then he was put in a position where he was a producer, and then he barely touched a camera. So yeah, I think it's important, but I suppose that's something. It's a bit difficult as business owners. It's maybe something where you can keep a tab on yourself and what you love. But I think to do that with your staff, you have to really just have some very honest conversations. You need to make sure you understand what your staff are motivated by, would be my assumption.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the hard part is that most of them don't even know what they're motivated by. Mm. They haven't really thought about what they're motivated by. They haven't unpacked, what motivates them. So definitely, I think the solution to everything is the hard conversation. That I do believe.
Yeah.
I'm super for hard conversations.
Yeah, no one enjoys hard conversations, but they're necessary.
No, but they're really, really important, and they really make a difference. And what they do, hard conversations, create vulnerability, and vulnerability creates people to move closer together. And so that's really important as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the subject of team building, from your experience with companies, what are little things that managers can do to reignite and re-energize their teams without spending huge amounts of money on external team building activities? Because I think that seems to be the traditional way of let's motivate our team, is to go book some huge big team building event that actually everybody hates or they love, but it changes absolutely nothing when they get back to the office.
Yeah, I must say, I always have this really bad joke. I hope nobody sells team buildings over here. And I have in the past, but I always say when I see companies to promote my 2-day performance booster, then I go, because the alternative is you take them on a team build. And what do? They drink too much, they eat too much, they sleep with the wrong person, and they come to work useless on Monday, or they leave in a month's time. So I'm not a big one on company getaways, although recently I attended a very nice cooking team build with this client in KZN last weekend. But it was just a nice to have because they didn't really get anything out of it. In fact, luckily I was there and I just went around and said, so what did you get out of it? What did you observe? Because otherwise it was really just them giving up their Saturday afternoon with their family, which they were then resentful about, to spend with each other, which they spend all week with each other. That's a real danger to assume that everybody is going to be excited about a team build. It sometimes brings up a lot of resentment. So I think small things, again, small things are recognition. Small things are really taking people's ideas into consideration and using them, recognizing them for it, using them, listening to people and what they asking for, what they're saying. I really think it's as simple as that. The simple thank you. There's that thing about the handwritten note. The handwritten note on somebody's desk to say, I've noticed you, not the WhatsApp, because we're all so quick to WhatsApp and send little, memes and things, but the handwritten note, because that takes extra personal attention. I really do think that they're just some of those old-fashioned ways of giving recognition, inviting somebody for a cup of coffee and spending quality time with them rather than, just the normal whatever happens in the workplace. Those are the things that really mean something to people. And they were highlighted by COVID, by lockdown, where people realized how important that connection is. Connection is becoming an enormous kind of trend, need, requirement. It's right up there compared to pre-COVID. So I think that's it's all about relationships and having and being candid, being honest, not fluffing things anymore. I think I do feel like the workforce has evolved, and what they are asking for, pre-COVID versus now has changed quite significantly. And I think people are asking for authenticity. They're asking for connection. They're asking for people to be real. And that if we are able to apply that with our staff and with our clients, we are actually going to be able to get a lot more from each relationship than previously.
Yeah. Connection is very important to people. I think we underestimated its importance, and one of the good things of COVID was that it highlighted how important it is. So, well, on that note of team building and honesty and motivation, and where does procrastination fit in? Because that's a form of demotivation. When in fact, what I tend to do, I tend to be very, very good at procrastinating working, which is doing a whole bunch of work that I shouldn't be doing right now because I'm avoiding work I should be doing. I'm very good at. I'm much better at that than complete procrastinating. But I think it's a problem that a lot of people face is putting things.
Yeah, especially when they don't have the fear motivation of, if you don't do this, like if you don't put the report on my table, there are going to be repercussions. And when many people, even in this forum, I know, have moved from a corporate space to working for themselves, working in a smaller group, and it becomes so much easier to procrastinate because there is nobody else keeping you accountable. So let's just maybe do a little, we haven't done a poll, we should set up a poll for this, but let's do a little, where are the little emoticons to say who actually struggles with procrastination, or maybe just put it in the chat box. Who struggles with procrastination? Just put the yes or me. Yeah.
Dylan is very quick to say me.
One with lots of exclamation marks.
Yep. Looks like the
Okay,
whole.
so let me ask you, Dylan, seeing you were so brave and out there first time round, what kind of things do you procrastinate about?
I am very, like, recently went to a doctor about it to get on medication, because I'm someone that I'll be working, then I'll see, oh, there's a bit of dust on my desk. And before I know it, I'm busy vacuuming my room. So I get very easily distracted, and then I procrastinate, but then I'm like, but I'm busy. So, I'm working, but I'm not actually doing the work that I should be doing. So I find myself that cleaning is the silliest, but I find, like, even if I'm just working something out for a client, that I'm also like, I'm going to go make tea, and before I know it, I'm cooking a 3-course meal. So that's my kind of procrastination, but you're in the energy of motivated to do something, but you're not focusing that energy on work specifically.
Yeah, 100%. So distraction is a form of procrastination.
100%.
It's an expression of procrastination.
I'm
Great.
like a cat. The minute that you're trying to laser pointer, my attention's somewhere else.
Yeah.
But Dylan, I have to say, if your procrastination involves a 3-course meal, you are very welcome to come procrastinate in my house anytime.
We'll talk about it.
Absolutely. Just put a price on it and at least make some money off of it, or photograph. I don't know, do something with it. Okay, who else wants to share how they go about procrastinating? What is your behavior when it comes to procrastinating?
Margie said in the chat, which is very similar to what Dylan said, is shiny penny syndrome. So,
Yeah.
When something is exciting, we very easily switch our focus to the exciting thing. I think that is something very common, especially in small business owners. And when we're building a business, then it's hard to actually even know what you're supposed to be focusing on. So every time something is shiny and new, we do tend to get pulled away.
Yeah. So again, definitely a huge trend. I think I've had at least 4 coaching sessions about this week. And almost like levels of this are spinning out. Like people are really feeling very frustrated by themselves because they simply are noticing that they are so distracted, so unfocused, so all over the show, and they don't know how to reel it back in. So, 2 of the sessions this week where I used a very nice acronym for my clients called So just, I don't want to say that aloud on the recording, but how do we just suck it in? How do we just refocus? So just a simple thing, just try this 1 minute. I do this with my clients sometimes in a coaching session. Just check this out. Robin, don't fall asleep when you do this now. Take a deep breath in, close your eyes. So when you're feeling distracted, this is a little exercise that you can do in the moment. Okay, just take a deep breath in for 4 counts. Hold it for 4 counts. And out, 2, 3, 4. And hold it, 2, 3, 4. And breathe it in. And hold it. And breathe it out. And hold it. And breathe it right into your belly. And hold it. Relax your shoulders. Breathe it out. Hold it. And breathe it in. Hold it. And breathe it out. Okay, open your eyes. Just feel the effect that that's had on your body and on your mind. So all that's happening with all this anxiety and all this distraction and everything, it's like your energy is going out in 100 different ways. And when you do that tiny 1 minute, I've got one client that's now set her alarm to do it every hour on the hour. 1 minute every hour to just bring you back to center. And you will find that when you ask yourself then, what is the most valuable thing I can do with my time right now? Your mind will bring you the answer to that. And it will not be cooking. It's cooking unless it's 5:30 p.m. So what is that? So it's also to connect your goal and your why to your actions. But you have to do a little bit of planning. You cannot do any of this stuff. Like we said, discipline cannot cannot be left out of this equation. If you don't plan today for tomorrow, this week for next week, this month for next month, you end up simply clutching at whatever is coming your way. You shoot from the hip. I mean, on Monday, I made the fatal error. I don't know what made me do this on a Monday morning. I normally have a 7:30 a.m. thinking session with somebody on a Monday morning, and she canceled. I was like, oh, fantastic. I can have a half an hour extra sleep. What a bad idea. I was on my back foot all day. I just could not make up that half an hour that I had slept in. I was still at my desk at 8 o'clock, but because I had taken that extra half an hour, I was just, behind myself all the time. So that is lack of discipline. That is not sticking to my routine. That is not linking strongly enough what I want to achieve with what I'm doing. So one of the things that we absolutely, and I'm going to speak for all solopreneurs, business owners, whatever it is, what we tend to procrastinate about, and if you don't agree, you're welcome to put up your hand and I can have a conversation with you. We procrastinate about sales. We procrastinate about making the appointments to sell ourselves. I'm like the most guilty person of that in that field. But when I go back and I say, what is the most valuable thing I can spend my time on when I'm not coaching? It is selling myself, selling my time, selling my expertise, figuring out what workshop to do next, things that are related and aligned to my vision for my future. So the more I speak about it, the more I think about it, you cannot escape linking your intrinsic motivator to your purpose and your vision. Otherwise, you're always going to be relying on external motivators.
So true.
Any other questions?
No, lots of comments about how people get distracted.
Yeah. And I do think that social media, we're more distracted now. I mean, I know the minute I come off of this, there are about 24 WhatsApp messages. One WhatsApp message can take me down a rabbit hole. So I'm trying to not, attend to my WhatsApp messages every time my phone pings, because that causes enormous distraction. And then at the end of the day, why do I feel demotivated? Because I feel like I was busy the whole day and I achieved nothing. Okay, how are we doing for time? I'm not checking on this time. Okay, we nearly have an hour.
We've still got a bit of time, but I think it's a good time for you to do your 4 Ps and Maslow's hierarchy.
Okay.
I
Let
think
me do that. So I think you can almost not speak about motivation without bringing Maslow's hierarchy into it. I'm interested in the upcoming, there'll be research about it and how things are changing, but I haven't updated that yet. But basically motivation, intrinsic or extrinsic, is about understanding what motivates, is about your desires and your needs and your beliefs and your expectations, and understanding what motivates you and understanding that there are these different things that motivate people differently will help you motivate other people. So some of you in the beginning said, I want to understand how to motivate other people. But you cannot understand that unless you understand what are their motivators. And then I like the idea that motivation implies movement, implies doing something, going somewhere, progress. Definitely, that's what we're looking for. For me, motivation is also, it's an energetic state. You can look at somebody and know they're motivated, and you can look at them and know they're not motivated. Those people you actually feel like you want to just slap into action. So Maslow, so this is something out of our Performance Booster program, but Maslow, who I'm sure most of you are very familiar with, and I'm just going to run through it, basically says that unless you have met your lowest psychological need, you can't move to the next one. If I think about my own life, and last year where I moved from Nelspruit to Cape Town, I was starting a business, starting up a life again from scratch. I really felt like I was at this physiological stage. I was definitely not having sex. That was a given. I was at least breathing, but I really needed to attend to my basic needs. I mean, the basic need of starting my business from scratch also fitted in there. It was really, breathing life into my business, taking care of my own physical needs was important. I mean, safety and security, safety in terms of reestablishing myself as a business from feeling very established in the Lowveld and then moving down here and having to start that all over again. So you couldn't actually motivate me, even this year. You can't motivate me by paying for an overseas trip for me. Like that in the past, you dangle an overseas trip in front of my nose, I'm there like a bear. This year, I've already been asked to go 1 or 2 places, and I'm like, no, this is my year for bedding down and starting my business. I think Robin, sitting in the UK, this is her year for changing her business model and learning new things. And that becomes far more important than maybe art and music and sightseeing and things like that. So it's important to realize where you are on this hierarchy when you're looking at your own motivation or other people's motivation. I remember many, many, many years ago when my father had his business, he used to, whenever the company reached a new target or their highest target, he used to organize a braai for everybody at work, for the workers, the factory workers, and the admin staff used to braai together. And then he got very upset because he didn't understand this, because the factory workers used to say, well, we'd rather take our food home and go and have it with our family. And he took offense to that. He was like, well, if you're not going to eat it here, you're not going to get it at all. Not realizing that for them to take a half a chicken home or a chicken home or a half a kilo of boerewors and 2 beers or whatever it is, and to go and have it with their families because they're down at the bottom of the scale, is far more valuable than sitting with a bunch of people from admin and having their half a chicken. So that's important to realize. For some people, you can motivate them by sending all the girls for petties on Women's Day. And other people, that's going to mean nothing. They'd much rather go home and spend it with their children. So I think it's important to take into consideration where people are and where you are in terms of this, and realize that is sometimes why you're not motivated by certain things or inspired. So extracted or extrapolated from that is the 4 basic motivators. And some of them are intrinsic and some of them are extrinsic. And Tam, will you send everybody that, or will you pop that worksheet into the chat box? So it's just a worksheet that I've taken out of the course. So pride. So people who are motivated by pride need to feel good about their standard of work. They like to be respected by other people. They like feeling competent and they want to exhibit their success and they're motivated by acknowledgement, but not necessarily. They might want 1, 2, and 3, and then they don't want to be acknowledged publicly. They want to be acknowledged privately. So again, it's the sensitivity, Tessa, in terms of what you were speaking about as well. It's the sensitivity to what motivates people and how they want to be recognized for that. So in this exercise, you could tick off which of these apply to you. Then there's pleasure. So I was always a big pleasure. I was motivated by pleasure. Currently, this is not a big motivator for me. But pleasure was comfort. I mean, the people who want that office, that beautiful corner office, convenience. So convenience was big for me because I've always worked from home because I hate traffic. So it's very important for me to create work for myself that doesn't require that I move around in traffic. Companionship, working well with other people and enjoying companionship. Participation in a task, getting involved with something that may be going to zhoosh up a nursery school or doing something fun together as a team. Accomplishment of goals, pleasant working conditions, and fun at work. So you can see for yourself which of these are your motivators. And maybe just make a note for yourself, because I'm going to ask you at the end, which 2 are your main motivators? Everybody is motivated by all 4, but everybody has got 2 dominant motivators. Then there's protection. So mine changed from pride and pleasure to protection and profit because of my circumstances changing so drastically. So protection is the need to feel physically safe. So for somebody that's happy to go and work in a war zone in exchange for a big paycheck that they send home, they're not. Protection isn't their main motivator. But for a mom that's got 3 children, she is totally motivated by protection. She doesn't want to lose her job because she doesn't have the luxury of having 2 months without work. So also look at that in terms of who you hire and what their needs are. If you threaten somebody like that, you really throw them a curveball and you could actually impact their motivation completely. So physical protection, protection in position, protection in reputation, and protection in status. So all of those you can drill down on any one of those. And then profit. So either motivated by the achievement of financial gain or the avoidance of waste. Reward through financial incentives will motivate these people. We are hoping, and it's not always the fact, that salespeople are motivated by profit. It's not always the case. And the reason why I say that is you'll find every car distributor will complain about this. They'll go, the target is that the person sells 10 cars, but if they sold 20 cars, they could earn so much more. Why does everybody stop at 10 cars? Because they're not really motivated by profit. They might be motivated by protection. So those are the 4 P's of motivation. I'm going to go through them with you again, just so it's pride, pleasure, protection, and profit. And I'm going to ask you to pop into the chat box, just your gut feel, which 2 do you think are your dominant motivators? So Linda says pleasant working area. Yep. If you want me to go back, ask me. I'm happy to do that. Pride and profit, says Robin. Pride and pleasure. Pride and profit. Pride and pleasure. Pride, I like to your clients are happy with my work. Yes. Pleasure, I like making my own schedule and working from where I want to. Absolutely, Dylan, I'm on the same page as you. Pride and pleasure. Last 20 years, when established was pride and pleasure. Now protection and profit as a single mom with many changes I had to make. Yep, same as me. So your circumstances will definitely impact your motivators. So if you're feeling demotivated, maybe go and have a look at this and go, so what has changed? And maybe I need to find my motivation in a different way to what I was finding it before. I have to reward myself differently. I have to measure myself differently. Rena, thank you for joining us. Can you go back to Pride? Yes, I can go back to Pride. My goodie will work. I must stop now. Pride. You need to feel good about your work, about your standard, like to be respected by others, like feeling competent and exhibit success, are motivated by acknowledgement. It doesn't mean that you're prideful. It doesn't mean that it's not the negative, not the arrogant pride we're talking about. It's simply pride in you're proud of your work. Any questions on this?
It's quite a lot to take in, I think, for very few people actually question what motivates them. So I think, to really sit and read through all those things and see which ones you align with.
Yeah, so I suggest that you take the worksheet that Tamrin's going to, Tam, you can email it to them or whatever so that they can print it off. And go through that for yourself, just go and work through that, tick off the ones that you feel are important to you, link them to what you're maybe lacking at the moment. If you're lacking motivation, maybe it's because you're not working in a team and you're not feeling, there's nobody respecting your work because you're not working with anybody, and that's maybe what you're lacking. Who are you going to exhibit your competency to if you're not working together with somebody and you're in such isolation? Isolation can lead to demotivation too. Just being alone too much. Because that's what we share. We share things with each other. We exhibit our success through that. We help other people. That can form a big part of our motivation.
That's very true. Tessa's put a question in the chat. How does knowing what motivates me help me to motivate my team?
I think it's not knowing what motivates you. It's knowing that you are motivated in different ways helps you identify that other people are motivated in different ways. So just the awareness of your own motivation can help you realize that, but not everybody is motivated the way I am. Just because I like it to receive a voucher to go off to the spa doesn't mean everybody does. Just because I think it's great to do a team build, actually it really demotivates some people because they've got to take time away from their family to do that. So it's just that sensitivity and a deeper understanding and maybe more of a conversation, a nice conversation to have with people. What motivates you? Let's share.
Mal, I have a last question for you.
Yes.
For the solopreneur, because we've got a few, I think, in the group, who find themselves feeling uninspired and de-energized, what do you suggest?
I think there are a few things. I think, number one, get a coach, obviously. Joking. I think to touch base with people, to connect, to form deeper relationships. So again, you need to look at what motivates you, what are you lacking, and then how to ramp that up. So maybe you're not motivated by, working in teams and seeing other people, but you really want recognition for your own work. So Tam, to use you as an example, you entered that Businesswoman Award last year. Let me ask you a question. How did that motivate you?
Well, I was lucky enough to be nominated, which is exactly what you.
Just by entry.
Oh, sorry, my internet went slow and I spoke over you there.
No, don't worry. Start again.
Sorry. I think the load shedding kicked in here. I was saying I was lucky enough to be nominated for that award, and that exactly plays into that pride motivation, because it meant someone noticed, someone thought well of me, and went so far as to actually tell somebody else they thought well of me. And yeah, that really did a lot of good for my motivation levels and wanting to work harder and do more and help more people, and was amazing for me in terms of feeling noticed.
Yeah, I think that when you put yourself out there for a competition or, you know, whatever, it changes your whole being. It changes your entire energy. The way you approach everything changes. But different ways of doing that. But I do feel like having accountability partners definitely works. Having a good and healthy support structure around you that encourages you, but also holds your feet to the fire, I think that really makes a big difference. Being part of things that you enjoy, so that taking good care of yourself, self-care cannot be discounted in terms of keeping yourself motivated. I know that if I've had 3 nights of bad sleep in a row, my motivation just goes out the window. I just feel my battery is just going Eskom load shedding. So self-care is really important, whatever that means for you. And self-care is not manis and pedis and swanning around in shopping centers. Self-care sometimes is making the phone calls to go see the clients. Self-care is seeing to it that your accounts and things are up to date. Self-care is a whole lot of sometimes really difficult things to do. But I think anything that goes out of balance leads to demotivation. So the minute that you find yourself demotivated, go and have a look and see what in your life is lacking. What are you not paying attention to? And then just start by eating properly, or start by exercising, or getting an accountability partner. There are lots of different things to do.
Thanks, Mel. That was an amazing session with so much good advice. I said Linda said great advice, but I think the entire session was great advice. I am going to send out a recording for everybody, and I will attach Mel's workbook to the recording. So if you do feel overwhelmed with the amount of information that you had to absorb today and try and remember, you can always watch the recording again and then work through the workbook. But yeah, Mel, thank you so much. I thought it was absolutely amazing. You're getting some love in the chat box. I'm sharing Mel's contact details in the chat box if you would like to reach out to her and have a chat about your motivation and your team, your performance. Mel excels in helping teams come together and improve their performance, and she does it by helping people look at themselves and build themselves. So if you're feeling demotivated in any way, reach out to Mel, have a chat, and see how she can help you. Otherwise, Mel, do you have anything you want to add before we close up today?
Yeah, I really just want to say thank you for this forum. Thank you for inviting me. It's a privilege to be a guest on anybody's chat show, podcast, whatever we call these things now, webinars, whatever they're called. And thank you to my friends, to BNI, to everybody who pitched here today, to your clients who were here. I really do hope it was worth spending the time. It's an hour and a half that you were procrastinating about getting out there and doing sales. So I hope it's real value to you.
I think it was a very valuable hour and a half, Mel. I wouldn't call it procrastination. Thank you so much for all of it.
Thanks so much.
Dylan says he was cleaning while listening.
Anybody? So what I love to finish on for those who are left here is just maybe a round where you unmute yourself and say one word. So Tam, you can maybe go down the list. Just one word. that comes up for you after the session, or how you feel, anything that you want to share, just so that we close off the session with hearing every voice in the room.
Awesome. One word that was of value today. One word of okay, well, I'm at the top.
I call it a diamond.
I'm at the top. So I think, gosh, one word, that's hard, Mel.
Well, use two.
I think self-understanding. That I think the value of understanding yourself, that definitely has been of value. I see Lynette said richness and Linda said self-care in the chat.
Nice. Welcome to pop it in, but I'd like to hear some voices.
Anyone who feels like it can put their microphones on.
Robin.
Nice. Oh, sorry.
Robin?
Oh, sorry. I was going to say insightful. Like, yeah, it was fantastic.
Thanks, Rob. Minette?
Actually, the first word that came to my mind was self-care, because you can't care about others if you don't understand yourself. So it's taking the time to understand yourself, and when you have that empathy and understanding of yourself, absolutely, you can help so many more people.
Yeah, true. Fill your own cup first, and let people drink from your saucer. Tessa.
I mean, I don't have a word, but one of the golden things which I like that you said was the solution to everything is the hard conversation, because those conversations are the hard, like the difficult ones. The motivation that you need to get those done are so tough, but I'll remember that. They're necessary.
Thank you. Margie?
For me, it was the intrinsic tying back to inspiration, and the extrinsic. That to me was really a diamond. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for attending. Alison.
Hi there.
Hi, Alison.
Yeah, I think it was just being just inspired, actually, just to not feel selfish. It's very easy sometimes to when you talk about self-care to feel selfish, and it gives us certainly it's given me a little bit more permission to be think about myself and caring for myself in order to help other people.
Absolutely. Alison, that's such an important insight. Thank you for sharing that. There is often, it is misconstrued as selfish. It is selfless to care for yourself, because if you care for yourself, you've got so much more to give others. If you're constantly giving, you cannot give from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. So thank you for bringing that, highlighting that.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Lynette, for being here all the way from Mozambique.
Oh.
And Carol from Mpumalanga. It's nice to have my colleagues and associates in the room. Thank you, everybody. It was really, really lovely to be here and to spend this time with you and go out and be motivated.
Thank you so much, Mel. I'm sure we're all leaving feeling much better. Much better. So everyone, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for attending the Business Builder training this month. Hopefully we'll see you next month as well. Next month we're looking at cash flow improvements. So if that's something that, if profit motivates you, do come to our cash flow improvement webinar next month. Thank you again, Mel.
Yes. Breathe 1 minute. Breathe for 1 minute.
Breathe for 1 minute, yes. That was great. I actually love that. That exercise is something I'm taking home with me for sure.
Breathe to calm down and refocus. It works. Yeah. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you, everybody, for coming.